on the spots that Scotty and I cut.
It's a special day today.
It's a special day.
Yeah, special day.
So if you call now, you can take advantage of the full $3,000 off. And that's actually a big percentage of a 10 window package or more.
Yeah, and that's where when Jeremy comes out to your house, if you have 25 windows, let's say it's 12 windows, he can help you kind of break that down and understand like what that pricing looks like. And because we are the factory, we cut out the middleman. We don't have the dealer markup where we're buying the windows. Like we are making those windows, and so we have more control over like with the volume, we can have better discounts.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so with the 10 windows or more, we're able to give you that $3,000 off.
Let's get you qualified. Let's get you ready to go. 801-850-9100. Jeremy's hanging out right now waiting for your phone call. He'll come out to your house. You'll have the bid. You'll have the financing options. You'll even have approval available for you right there on the spot. All you have to do is call 801-850-9100. Let's get those windows swapped out. Save you money, $3,000 off, and you're going to be saving a ton of money on your heating and cooling bill. It's right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wherever you and 5 KZNS FM Colville, 1280 KZNS AM Salt Lake City, and KSL FM HD2 Salt Lake City Midvale. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Hans and Scotty with their re-rank of the top 25 players in the state of Utah in 2023, presented by Advanced Window Products on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, here we go, folks. It is time for day number 2 of our re-rank of the top 25 players in the state of Utah from the 2023 college football season. Scott Gerard, Hans Olsen, thanks to all of you listening and also watching on KSLSports.com. We've tweeted out the links. You can also just go right to the website. It's right there and available for you at KSLSports.com. Thanks for putting up with seeing our ugly mugs on TV. And but we'll get through this together. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go, man. I think our top 12 is pretty solid.
Yes. So let's get to it. Not waste any time. Here is number 12.
Number 12.
AJ Vongpachong, the Utah State transfer, playing his final year of eligibility at BYU, checks in, Hands, at number 12.
How do you feel about this one?
You know what? He was so reliable for BYU. Maybe didn't put up the numbers that I thought. You and I talked before the season started, and I told you, and I flat out guaranteed you, he'd be a 100 tackle guy. Mm-hmm. He ends up with 85, but he's there for every game, plays his butt off, does everything that's asked of him. In a year where there was a lot of flux defensively, it just seemed like he was there making every play for BYU.
Big thanks to Nate and Maddie and everybody who has put together the highlight packages that you're able to watch here on the streaming as Scotty and I are announcing the top 25, and you're just seeing some of the work of AJ Vongpachong, and he does one thing extremely well. He moves from hash to number extremely well. He can get out there and make tackles. Anything that sweeps out wide, he's typically there to clean up. He's what I consider a cleanup tackler. He feeds off of anything that might get past the first line of defense, and then he's a sure tackler. So I thought he had a fantastic season, and I would have liked to seen a little bit more. Not going to lie. I think he could have been better, probably could have been higher on the list, but he did what Jay Hill in this BYU defense really needed him to do.
And again, reliable, always makes the open field tackle. He may not be flashy. And again, if you allow offensive linemen to get to the second level, that's where he struggles a little bit. But if you allow him to roam free from sideline to sideline, he can create a lot of damage, and certainly did that for BYU this year. All right, let's get to our next selection.
Number 11.
MJ Tafisi from Utah State. Our first Aggie we announced today comes off the board. He is at number 11. We talk about tackle totals, Hands. Can't get much better than this. 142 tackles on the season, including 7.5 TFLs. This dude, I'm telling you, Hands, when he makes a hit, and I'm usually up in the press box, it just sounds different when that guy hits you. And he wraps up his college career with a huge day, with a huge year, 140 tackles.
So I am trying to find where that finished.
It finished 5th.
That's right.
A guy from Iowa, Old Dominion, Miami of Ohio, Eastern Michigan, then MJ Tafisi at 142.
So I would be okay if Utah State fans are upset with MJ Tafisi coming in here and they want him higher. I could understand that. Finishing 5th in tackles, he was everywhere. And some of these highlights I'm seeing again for the second time. And MJ Tafisi, whether you're using him on blitz situations, gap filler, he's great in filling the middle, backside tackles. He was fast. MJ Tafisi, he's done his eligibility.
That was his final year. Again, Alta High guy, started his career at Washington, dealt with some significant injuries, and didn't have much going on because of those injuries and missed time and not a lot of playing time. And then Utah State lures him to Logan, and he absolutely explodes, has 69 tackles the year before, and then this year was just a machine. And dealt with the injuries. Remember, he only played 8 games last year because of that injury. And, there was some concern that his college career might be done, but comes back, plays all 13 games, suffered a little bit of an injury, his final game in the regular season, but still came back, played in the bowl game, and just was a machine.
There aren't many linebackers that I can think of in the state of Utah, at least in the 17 seasons that I've been back here on air covering football, that I can think of 142 tackles in a season.
Oh my gosh, you know what? I screwed up. I screwed up bad. Nate, you should have yelled at me.
He's not number 11.
He's not number 11.
Well,
that's my bad.
That's what I was saying.
I'm so sorry. I screwed up. No, that's Anthony Switzer at number 11.
I was saying that
I got Utah State linebackers screwed up. Oh my gosh. Do I feel like a moron?
Like, it's okay. I was
should
like,
just tell me.
No,
tell me
you
I'm
could
wrong.
have switched it and you could have put Switzer wherever MJ
that's my bad.
is going to show up.
Anthony Switzer is number 11, not MJ Tafisi. Did you play the highlight package from Anthony Switzer? No, that's MJ. Wow. Look at Nate.
Of course, Nate's on it.
Dude, you guys can just tell me I screwed up. That's fine. No, Anthony Switzer comes in at number 11. Again, great player. He's back for another year at Utah State. He'll be back next season. Anthony Switzer is a heck of a player.
Well, and he's a do-it-all guy, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's all over the field.
If there was not a webcam on me right now, I would just want to bury my head in my lap right now. I feel so stupid.
It happens, buddy. Don't feel stupid about it. I'm a little bit surprised Lloyd's not saying or doing.
Yeah, Lloyd should be on my butt like crazy over that one. No. No, you're fine. All right, so congratulations, Anthony Switzer, Utah State played a little bit of linebacker. They had him all over the place. He will go back. I believe they're going to have him back at safety this year, but they had to move him up to essentially striker this year, which is that kind of hybrid linebacker position.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take MJ and we're going to put him back on this shelf.
So MJ's still available, folks. Will he be later on? Maybe,
but
we'll find out.
Did he even make the list?
Maybe he's not even in the top 25.
I said, I could understand why Utah State fans would want MJ Tafisi a little higher. I'm looking at you like, but if that's how we want to go, I thought you were making an executive decision.
Yeah, I'm not pulling any. There's been so much work that's gone on behind the scenes on this thing. I'm not pulling any audibles on purpose as a screw up. Yeah, apparently. All right.
Well, so wait a second, because I do want to give Switzer his due time. So you're saying that you believe they might move him to safety?
Well, that's his original position as safety. That's where he was going to play the whole time.
Because I remember Switzer more second line of defense.
But because of injuries and stuff like that, they had to move him up to that striker position.
How big is he? How big of a kid is he? So that's because he was so good where they had him that I would have a hard time moving him back.
Well, they feel like he's better at that position. I think that's where they feel like he has an opportunity to play at the next level. He ended up with 84 tackles on the season. Still, just a huge year for tackles. He's 6'2", I mean, he's not a big guy. And so that's more of a natural position to move him back there at safety, but they do have the chance to move him around a little bit, and he can come up a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage for sure. All right, let's put that foobar behind us and move on to our next selection.
Number 10.
Number 10, let's stay at the linebacker position, Hans, but let's go to Provo. Max Tooley coming in at number 10.
Well, Max Tooley is a dynamic linebacker, and man, we've seen him for a lot of years, haven't we? We've been able to watch him at BYU for a lot of years. And as we're just sitting here looking at his highlight package, thing that makes Max great, and I'll go back to this Arkansas game and this moment that we're watching, when you really needed a big play. Arkansas had BYU on their heels, and Max Tooley comes up with a critical interception to change the way that game would flow. The other thing that Max does is he hits you so hard that you really don't want to go into his area very often. It felt like at least 2 times a game, as I was calling those games, at least 2 times, you would see this crazy collision, unbelievable impact, and instantly your mind's like, just say it, because you know who it is.
Yeah.
Just say it. You know it's Max. But then you're waiting, you're like, no, let me see. He's getting up. There's the number. Oh, yep, Max Tooley. Max Tooley on a hit. Every game there were a couple hits that stood out with the veracity, the anger, the full delivery, and that was Max Tooley coming in on those big hits. He just delivers a lot of impact when he comes down. Max Tooley finished as the tackling leader for BYU as well. I think that Ben Bywater would have. Ben Bywater was on a furious clip before he went out for the season. But Max Tooley finishes as BYU's tackle leader with 92 total tackles. 52 of those 92 were solo tackles.
Just a complete difference maker for sure for BYU and that defense. Speaking of difference makers, let's get to our next one.
Number 9.
Boy, this guy just had a remarkable year. Jacob Robinson, defensive back at BYU. Again, another guy that just seemed to make play after play, and a lot of pressure was on him, Hans, considering the lack of pass rush from that BYU front line.
Mm-hmm.
That guy had to sit back and cover and cover and cover, and more often than not, he got the job done.
He did. And he was the 4th leading tackler for BYU, and he was actually second in interceptions, but he was second with 4 interceptions. 4 picks coming from Jacob Robinson. And he was everything you needed on the outside. There's a couple things that I really like about him, but one of my favorite things that Jacob Robinson does, and by the way, BYU fans feel lucky that Jacob is back because
the Barbarians were at the gate.
Thank you.
Yes.
And they didn't bring their pitchforks. They brought their money.
Yeah, bags of money. The Brinks truck was lining up for him.
And Jacob has decided to stay at BYU, thankfully, because he's a difference maker. But one of my favorite characteristics of Jacob is watching him fight off the block on the outside, force contain, or make a tackle. And it's an underrated area of a corner. When you watch a wide receiver on a split out set lock up with the corner, some corners just say, well, that's it. I'm done. Jacob loves to fight on those lockups to try to force leverage and push the run or the screen pass or the swing pass, push it back inside. He fights like a dog to try to get off that block and make something on the outside. And if I were to coach corners, the first thing we would be working on is getting off the block and forcing pressure outside back into my help. Because I think that goes to the wayside too often. And I know with corners, you're like, okay, well, we're going to install a hard press man system. So we got to make sure that you can lock and run. Yeah, lock and run. Fine. Let's make sure we're defending against the pass. But what I really want you to do, once you feel that receiver lock up with you, understand what's happening, see what's happening, get off the block and force that pressure back inside. Jacob does a great job of that. And there's another guy on the outside for BYU that does slightly better at it that has not been mentioned yet.
We might get to that a little bit later on. Now time for number 8.
Number 8.
Let's go to another transfer player playing his first year at that given university. By the way, I'm double and triple checking every player now going forward. Levani Damuni checking in at number 8, Hans, from the University of Utah. Captain at Stanford, decided to play his final eligibility years, is going to be back for next season with the University of Utah. But this was a guy that was not a starter immediately, but had to come in because of injuries. And you know what? Really rose to the occasion.
Lloyd, thank heavens for Levani Damuni, right?
Levani Damuni was huge. I mean, when you had Carini Reed go out when he got his bell rung and he stepped in for him, and when you had obviously Lander Barton go out, like he was huge. I mean, he led the Utes in tackles. He was a big part of what they did on defense. To have a guy like that be essentially your backup linebacker, I mean, that speaks for itself. Yeah,
Levani Damuni did it all, and he ended up with 3 tackles for a loss. As Lloyd mentioned, he was the tackle leader for the University of Utah. He was an emotional leader, a veteran that brought a lot of tackles and a lot of experience with him. But what ended up the scenario set that you
when you bring in a got a ton of experience. That came in here and said, "Hey, how surprised with
could take that next step because BYU was depleted at that safety position, and you really needed Rader to become something great. You're going to really need him next year.
All right, one more before we go to break. Time for our next selection.
Number 7.
Let's go back to BYU. Another transfer player, Weber State transfer, hanging out at corner, Eddie Heckard. And I think a lot of people thought, well, wait a minute, he's coming from BYU. What do we got? Are we coming from Weber? Well, guess what? Eddie Heckard was one of your better players on that BYU defensive side this year.
This is going to be, for the people that really watched Eddie, this would be one of the tougher ones for them to swallow because I'm sure a lot of people would have rather seen Eddie Heckard in the top 5 because he was one of the country's leaders in interceptions. He had a touchdown or 2 off of interceptions. He was one of the top leaders in tackles. He was definitely, as you can see on his highlight package, if you're watching along on the stream, hopefully you're watching along on the stream. This is a lot of fun to have this out there for people. And Nate and Maddie and everybody's done such a great job of putting these clips together. And it's just showing all the plays that Eddie makes. And Scotty, he was, let's see, as far as consistency, Eddie Heckard was the most consistent part.
You wonder how a guy
of that BYU defense.
You wonder how a guy translates from Big Sky to Big 12. I mean, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
And guess what? He did it seamlessly.
Well, I think that Jay Hill really made a statement with the guys that he brought, whether it was Eddie Heckard or whether it was, why am I forgetting the Camden Garrett, or it was one of 3 or 4 guys that he brought with him from Weber. They all hit.
Yeah.
And now they've got another Weber State player, another Jay Hill guy that's coming from Weber State, in Jack Kelly, that was in the top 25. And I'm sure he's going to hit.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, and go watch the NFL. You're going to see Weber State players. I want to say Jay's probably got
Taron Johnson,
6 or 7 guys.
The wide receiver for the Saints.
Yeah. So
Rashid Shaheed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's got plenty of players, and there's plenty of talent. Eddie Heckard is the one that, when the 3 of us were kind of going back and forth, I was trying to make even more of a case, but the talent just gets so steep from here.
Yeah.
That I think it's suitable. Number 7 for Eddie Heckard.
All right, take a break. Come back. We'll give you our next selections. You are listening to the re-rank of our top 25 college football players in Utah in 2023. All brought to you by Advanced Windows. As tell you what, we got all kinds of great things going on right now. Financing options. You need to swap out those windows, and Jake, you guys can make sure people get in there and feel the impact of those new windows immediately, and yet still have 2 years to pay them off.
Yeah, and really, you got the questions like, how do I know if I need new windows? What are some signs and things to look for just in your home? Is if you have if your home was built in the 70s and you have those old aluminum frames, you would benefit greatly from new windows. If you have like a builder grade vinyl window that was maybe 10 years old, and you can you go outside and you can see like some of the vinyl warping or yellowing, there's a good sign. Like yeah, you might need new windows. And by calling us today, Jeremy will be the one to answer. He'll be able to give you, like, talk to you on the phone, set up an appointment, come out to your house. And there's like no pressure when he's there. He's there to look at your current windows, do a little audit of those, and then explain to you just the benefits of new windows.
So, Jake, it looks like you brought the voice in with you, huh?
He's here.
You got the voice?
The voice is here.
Hey.
Todd, welcome, Todd.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys again, too.
So, Todd, I know that you have got so much invested in advanced window products. I know that this product means the world to you. And, I want you to help people understand why you're so passionate about what advanced window products does.
Well, the first thing is that, you kind of wake up every morning ready to go to the next house. It's almost like pheasant hunting. You're just excited. You're out. You're ready to pull the trigger and so forth. So I wake up every morning just excited to go to the house and help people out and help them understand a little bit about a need. Some people buy things for wants, like a sunroom or a retractable awning or something. It's more of a want, but a need is a roof or replacement windows, my entry doors. So I feel good that I'm helping them take money from one pocket and put it into another.
Yeah.
Utilities are a big deal, right? The return on investment, things like that. So, but when you have a quality product and you've got the proper glass for our climate, and then you have the proper frame that won't expand or contract, then you've got something where you're in motion. But the next thing is they have recourse. Something happens down the road. We have a problem with a cracked frame, accidental glass breakage, or rock from the lawnmower, neighbor's ball, things like that. They can make a phone call 8 years down the road after we've already sold the windows and actually have a phone call a live voice and take care of the situation and take care of them. That's important to me. The satisfaction of the return down the road, as well as the current product that's doing good things for me. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Take $3,000 off when you swap out 10 windows or more. Great financing options. We just need you to call 801-850-9100. Jeremy's waiting for your call right now. That's 801-850-9100. Advanced Windows right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
counting down the best players in 2023. This is Hans and Scotty's re-rank of the top 25 players in the state of Utah in 2023. Presented by Advanced Window Products on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, let's get to it. The final 6 of our re-rank of the top 25 players in the state of Utah. Hey, this name sounds familiar. Let's get to our next selection, shall we?
Number 6.
How about this? MJ Tafisi coming in at number 6. If you've been following on the stream, you've already seen the highlight package. But hey, let's see it again, shall we?
Let's do it again.
Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. MJ Tafisi, 142 tackles, 5th in the country in total tackles on the season. And like I said, Hans, the dude was just a machine.
He was a machine, and it's a bummer to see him move on at this point. Tackle leader. You would know him better than me on this. NFL guy?
Probably not. He doesn't have the side-to-side speed. They did have to take him off the field in certain 3rd and long situations. Maybe a special teams guy. There might be some opportunities there for him. But overall, if you look for a guy that needs to make a tackle in space, he's your dude. So I don't know. But then again, look, I'm not NFL evaluation guy, so I could be up in the night. But I do think that what he was asked to do, he did extremely well at Utah State. And that was a defense that obviously had some issues. They've made a move at defensive coordinator to try to rectify some issues. But one thing you could always count on, death taxes and MJ Tafisi coming up with a 10-plus tackle game.
He also put together 8 TFLs on the season. And again, just there to clean it up. I will tell you that as an NFL scout, when I see 142 tackles in a single season, I'm going to take a really good look at this guy and just say, all right, well, what can we get out of him? As you mentioned, special teams. Can we make him a full-time cover guy? Can he run down on our kickoff, run down on our punt? Does he got the speed that he can converge and collapse and make those tackles? And those types of tackle numbers should at least land you a camp.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no doubt he'll have some opportunities. All right, let's move on and get to our next selection.
Number 5.
Let's stay in Logan. Ike Larson coming in at number 5. This guy was do everything for Utah State. Dramatic player that did so many good things. And by the way, 2nd leading tackle. He's a 100 tackle guy. Had 103 tackles on the season. Also had block kicks. He had interceptions. 4 interceptions, 1 touchdown off of that interception. Again, just all over the field, doing everything he possibly could. A forced fumble, 2 block kicks, a quarterback hurry, 6 TFL passes broken up. I mean, the guy just did everything.
So as we watch this highlight package, I love watching him. One of my favorite things with a safety is when they outrun a receiver to the route.
Yeah.
And it is a unique talent if safeties get locked up in a man situation, especially on a cross, some type of slant, and they outrun a receiver to the route and to the football. And one of his interceptions that I just watched was this other interception that just popped up. He's in a too high zone look, and he just steps in front of looks like a deep dig and comes up with an interception.
That was, by the way, the interception you just saw was in overtime to beat San Diego State.
So as clutch and critical as you can get. How many block kicks did you say?
2 block kicks on this season.
2 block kicks.
One, by the way, was against UConn, where UConn had scored a touchdown. All they have to do is kick that extra point. That game goes into overtime. He blocks the extra point.
That was a touch and go game.
And ends the game.
That was a real touch and go game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ike Larson also ended up with 5 tackles for a loss, so he can give you that. Great in man, great in zone, great across the board, and I thought that he was gonzo, but he is staying in Logan, at least currently.
Well, yeah,
you can't leave now.
You can. The window does open up again after spring ball, so there's always that next wave.
I think that.
But I don't look. He's committed. He's made the announcement. He's a Cache Valley guy, Skyview grad. And you make a big announcement, you're coming back. You're coming back.
He's got a few pieces around him that will continue to help that decision.
Yeah. All right. Next up, let's get to our next selection.
Number 4.
Let's go back to the University of Utah. Cole Bishop hands checking in at number 4.
Now we're getting into the nitty gritty. Cole Bishop, he is an NFL safety. We're talking now about draft picks. We're talking about big draft picks. Cole Bishop, he doesn't have the numbers that Ike Larson has across the board. He is loaded with numbers, and I could see why people could try to make a conversation. But when you add in Cole Bishop's longevity, you add in his leadership, you add in the defense that he plays for, the rank of that defense, and everything he means to the University of Utah and has meant to the University of Utah in his time there. Cole Bishop is just electric. Lloyd, I don't know what stands out to you, and you did the pre and post games with Frank Dolce through the season. What stands out the most to you in Cole Bishop's season?
Oh, I would say his leadership, his command of the team. I mean, when he came out on the field and back in 2021, you knew the guy was going to be, not long for playing with the youth. You knew he'd probably be headed to the NFL at some point. I mean, he was so huge for them this year. I mean, he had that interception that led to the drive for that win to get that win against Baylor. Like his leadership. I mean, he was sneaking up to he had 3 sacks, a couple interceptions. I mean, the guy was phenomenal for that Utes defense.
Plays in the backfield, 7 TFLs.
Yeah,
couple picks as you mentioned. So good in the safety blitz, the walk up, the timing of the safety blitz. He's good in run support and interior too.
Yeah,
he'll come up and he will punch you in the teeth on those tackles on the interior. Guy that does not shy away from contact. And
where do you think draft wise?
He'll be gone before the end of the 4th, but he could be gone as high as the beginning of the 3rd.
I think it would not surprise me, and I think you're right. But the thing is, when it comes to Utah, and especially defensive backs, well, frankly, anybody on the Utah defensive side, they do get the benefit of the doubt. It wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden we're at the end of the 2nd, early 3rd, and you hear his name called just based on not only his skill set and what he brings to the table, but that Utah legacy that comes along with it, because Utah kids immediately get elevated in the draft because of what guys from Utah have done before and the system that they run. They know that a lot of these Utah kids can just be plug and play and off they go.
You know who his demeanor most reminds me of, and I only got to interview Christian McCaffrey maybe 3 or 4 times, but the way they conduct, the way they hold themselves, the way they act, those two mirror each other in personality. Christian just doesn't mess around. Cole doesn't mess around.
No.
When he was out with the Pac-12 media days with us, he has fun, and you can see that he's in the moment, but you can also see that he's just intense. He sweats focus and intensity. And I love his personality. I think the thing that's going to really help him in the NFL is his fearlessness and his personality.
All right. One more selection before we go to break and announce our top 2. Let's get to number 3.
Number 3.
Final Aggie coming off the board. It is Jalen Royals, who came out of nowhere to have himself a 1,000-yard season, 15 touchdowns on the year, 71 receptions. Jalen Royals was just fantastic for Utah State after not putting up a single catch last season. Was on the Utah State team, had some moments that he played last year, but did not have a single reception last year. And then this year, all the focus was on Terrell Vaughn, who also made our list of top 25. But Jalen Royals was as explosive as anybody in the country with, I want to say, 7 or 8 of his 15 touchdowns were over 50 yards or more. This dude has got incredible speed. I think I've told you his story. He was playing at Georgia Military Academy and was invited. And Utah State and a lot of schools, they just send out these blanket invites to everybody to come to their camps. And he showed up at a summer camp, and they had him run a 40, and he clocked at 4.3. And they're like, well, that can't be right. They had him run it again. It was 4.32. And so they run him through some pass.
Sick.
So they run him through a bunch of pass drills, and he's catching everything. They don't take a look at his film. They offer him a scholarship immediately on the spot. And
based off of that.
And just based on that camp workout that he just showed up to. And then so last year he kind of learns, develops, and then this year it's just crazy. The fact that Utah State gets him to come back for next season is remarkable, and the sky's the limit on what he can do next year.
Well, you think about how rare the 1,000-yard receiver is in the state of Utah. You know, how far back do you got to go to find a 1,000-yard receiver for the University of Utah? You know,
that would have been Drez Anderson.
Drez Anderson, yeah.
Okay, well, what is that? 2010?
That was a long time ago. Yeah,
12,
roughly.
You know, at BYU, you don't come across a lot of 1,000-yard receivers, and you don't come across a lot of receivers that pull down 15 touchdown receptions.
By the way, set the single record for touchdowns in a season this past season. Remember, they had Devin Tompkins, all these guys.
What's bonkers to me? It's just does not make any sense. How do you have 1,080 and break touchdown records, and you're rotating through three
quarterbacks,
4 different quarterbacks?
Yeah. If they can find stability at that quarterback position, it could be scary what Utah State could look like with the Anderson boys coming, with the 3 running backs coming back, Micah Davis at wide receivers coming back. I mean, if they find stability at quarterback, Utah State could be really dynamic on offense next year.
Miley at the offensive line.
Yep.
And then we've already mentioned the running back situation. There was one running back, a nearly 1,000-yard running back who was in the top 25 re-rank. So could get really scary for Utah State. That makes that game in Logan kind of exciting for the University of Utah. It's gonna be exciting.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, number 2, number 1, coming up next, right here on your top 25 re-rank, right on the zone.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10. Presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 16 years in a row. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Time to get you in a new ride that you love to drive, and Nissans are a great vehicle to drive. I've driven one forever. My wife's driven a Pathfinder. My son drives a Sentra. We're a Nissan family because we know it, we like it, and we know they're reliable. And the fact is, you go to Tim Daly Nissan in Murray at 4528 South State Street, you're going to find a Nissan that you absolutely love to drive, but you also have peace of mind knowing you're getting a great deal. All the promotions, all the savings, all the interest rates as low as 0% are available through the month of January. It just didn't end on December 31st, so that's available to you right now. They're going to give you more for your trade-in than anybody else, and they're going to throw in the forever warranty, which means as long as you own the vehicle, it's going to be covered. That's right. That's peace of mind, folks. They give you for free. It's Tim Daly Nissan in Murray. Get there now. 4528 South State Street. That's Tim Daly Nissan in Murray.
You're listening to Hans and Scotty with their re-rank of the top 25 players in the state of Utah in 2023, presented by Advanced Window Products on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, here we go, folks. It's your final two in the re-rank of the top 25 players in the state of Utah. Again, beginning early June, we'll have our usual top 60 and 60. You'll hear from the coaches. We'll have all the voting. And remember, this is all us. Lloyd, Hans, myself, we did this. So if you're angry, you can get after all of us. We want to go through the entire list.
Do you think I look like that guy?
Stop it. No, you don't.
Bad Bull? Look at this. This is Nate. This is who people are saying I look like.
Nobody says that you look like that.
Bad Bull from Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I'm gonna get a hairpiece. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right. I'm gonna go Costanza on this.
You're gonna hey, look, no. Look, if there's a client that comes on that's doing a hair replacement, I get it, not you.
Well, I'm not talking hair replacement. I just a hairpiece.
Oh, you just want you just want the carpet.
Yeah,
huh?
I want the rug.
Okay, all right.
Throw the squirrel tail on my head. And
I'm gonna go. What's his face? Brian.
No, Urlacher got the weave.
Oh, you the weave?
Yeah, or the replacement, whatever that is.
He got the rose.
All right, so I think people know who the top two players are. It's just a matter of who finished number 2 and who finished number 1. So we'll do a complete. By the way, we're gonna have a really cool recap of the top 25 here in a moment.
Yeah.
But let's get to it. Let's not waste any time, as we have been doing. It's time for number 2.
Number 2.
Hans, we weren't expecting this from him. He wasn't a starter when the season started, but boy, he finished strong and he made a big impact for the Utes. Jonah Ellis at number 2.
Leading the state in sacks, nearly leading the country. I think there were one or two others that maybe slipped another sack or two in front of Jonah Ellis. But Jonah Ellis had such an incredible season that he was able to enter his name into the NFL draft, and he will find himself drafted. The highlight packages that Nate is putting out there right now, you're going to just see that he's got the full range of rush. From power to speed, he can pretty much do it all. And he was unstoppable at times. When you really needed that quarterback pressure, you needed that movement, you needed that sack and that big moment, Jonah Ellis was there to do it for you. 12 sacks, over 100 yards worth of sacks, over an entire football field worth of sacks he put together.
How about this? 37 tackles on the season. 16 of those 37 tackles were TFLs. 12 of those 37 tackles were sacks. I mean, you're more than half of your tackles are TFLs. You're doing something right.
Yeah, he's so much fun to watch, and can't wait to see what happens with the draft. He's the one guy. Well, he's one of the top guys that I would circle and say, man, I wish Utah could have him back.
Yep.
I wish, because he still had plenty of eligibility. He'd have been just fine coming back. And
I thought about halfway through the season, I thought, oh, this is going to be a great piece they're going to have next year. Because you thought that maybe there was a little bit more development, possibly. I mean, he had an unbelievable season.
Well, he felt like such a baby at the time too.
Yeah, right.
He felt young and like he was just coming into himself. And you're like, oh, this is going to be great in 2024.
Well, those are tough decisions because you have to realize, okay, is my stock going to be higher next year? Could I suffer an injury? I mean, there's a lot of things you have to consider, and those are difficult conversations. And he decides to make the jump to the NFL and roll the dice. All right, that leads us to it. Our number 1 player in the state of Utah in 2023.
And now, the best college football player in 2023. Here's number 1.
No shocker here, Hans. He did it all. And when we say he did it all for Utah, defense, offense, when you needed somebody to get a big running play, he was there for you. When you needed somebody to make a big tackle, he was there for you. Sione Vaki, our number 1 player in our re-rank of the top 25 players in the state of Utah in 2023.
Could you believe what this guy did?
No. We haven't seen a season like this from anybody. The only person that's come relatively close is when Eric Weddle in 2006 had to play quarterback and essentially play Wildcat for stretches in games. That's about the only thing that I can compare what we saw Sione Vaki do last year.
So as Utah is going through their plethora of offensive injuries, losing everything from quarterbacks to running backs to tight ends, losing every piece of offensive weapon you could think of, Sione Vaki comes out of nowhere and delivers these incredible rushes, these incredible big plays out in the flats, the incredible direct snaps and dives. And then he switches over to the defensive side, and as you mentioned, whether he's grabbing an interception or he's going out pressuring a quarterback or dropping into coverage, it was all over the field, all the time, and he's very deserving of the number one college football player in the state of Utah because nobody did more than Sione Vaki.
317 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, 203 yards receiving to go along with 3 touchdowns. He also had 2 interceptions. He had 51 tackles on the season, 8.5 TFLs, 2 sacks, 2 passes broken up. I mean, come on. Like, what else can the guy do? Sell peanuts out in the stands? Like, there's nothing else this guy has left to accomplish for the University of Utah.
Sione Vaki, an incredible football player. And, a guy that, Lloyd, that's one you wish you could run back.
Yeah, I think it was another one that I thought maybe you thought that kind of like Joe Nelson, maybe there was a little bit more he could possibly accomplish. But then again, he had such an amazing season. It's like, I think he proved enough. But it was another guy that you thought might be back. I mean, here we were talking about how stacked this Utah defense was going to be. And they're still going to be good. But this team was going to be unbelievable in 2024. Yeah. Like, it was looking ridiculous.
Their defense is still going to be good because Keanu Tianavasa, Junior Tafuna, Van Fielner, Connor O'Toole, Simota Pepa, Lavani Damuni, Karenni Reed, Hayden Fury. Well, actually, Hayden's done, isn't he? I think Hayden Fury's done.
He is.
You want to know, by the way,
Fotu,
where Sione came in the 60 and 60, the original, just so you can see the jump?
Yeah.
27.
Ooh.
He checked in at 27.
27.
Because he did have a great year at safety the year before.
Well,
he was good.
We weren't anticipating the offensive onslaught from him, though, that's for sure. But,
so from 27 to the number one player.
Yeah.
Jonah Ellis did
I don't think he was in the top 60. No.
We had some guys. There were 4 or 5 guys that went from off the board to the top of the board. And that happens every year.
Yeah. 33 for Jonah Ellis. He did come
Was
in.
he at 30?
Yep,
I didn't
came in
even
at 33.
Wow. I'm surprised he was that high.
Well, you got to admit, when the 3 of us put our heads together, we don't miss.
Yeah.
We get things right, yes.
Well, I hear the gallery back here even laughing.
Yeah. You happy with yourself?
Hey, man, he was there. We knew there was a chance.
Yeah. All right.
Should we do this?
Let's do it.
I'm excited to hear this.
So it's time to recap our top 25. And I tell you what, not only can the guy absolutely get you a great deal on your advanced windows, but he's an auctioneer as well.
So Todd, where did you learn this talent of yours?
So I started when I was a Sigma Chi at Utah State University, and I did some of the cake auctions for the sororities, trying to make money in front of our fraternity. And
oh, come on, you were trying to get a date too.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding me? At age 18, yes.
No dummy.
It was fun. So it was auctioneering for me. I heard it one day and spoke it the next. It was self-taught. There's auctioneering schools at in Billings, Montana. There's Mendenhall University. It would take 2 weeks to go through about 15, 20 different colleagues, and they just teach you the ways. I learned it by, I don't know. It's like, how do people play the piano without reading the music? That blows me away.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly how to answer, other than it came naturally for me. I process quickly, so it's easy to do numbers and chance and such.
Well,
so yeah, it's fun.
Todd's a do-it-all guy, and you can get hooked up if you want with advanced window products. We're going to tell you how to do that. But Todd, you've heard our top 25. And we're going to ask you to do your best to recap it and we're going to make this specific, in a horse racing type scenario.
Wow. So that's a bit of a challenge. I'll give it a shot. I actually called a few horse races, not live, but I've done it to practice the chant for auctioneering.
All right.
So started off at 25. Here we go now. Winston Reed. Weber State making a move now. Upside here goes Isaiah Wooden. Seth UU. Now 23. Here comes Tyler Beatty, the BYU play. At 22. Here comes Kingsley Sumasu. BYU 21. Now Zermiah Vaughn. Utah 20 on the outside. Here comes Keaton Bills from Utah. Back on 19 is Keanu Tosamasa. Utah now making a move. Jack Kelly on the inside rail of Weber State. Now 17. Coming back at Michael Mafishi, Utah. Here comes Devon Booth at USU at 16. Coming back on the inside is Kareen Reed. Utah making a move. Here comes Terrell Vaughn of USU, 14. At Jakeenan Jackson, Utah coming strong on the outside. Here comes Alva, AJ Bondavasha, BYU, and Anthony Switzer. That's a tough one. Swing and a miss on that one. Here come on the 11th of USU. There comes Max Tooley at BYU coming back strong. Jacoba Robinson, BYU, number 9 to Lavani Damuni at Utah's number 7. It comes Eddie Heckard, BYU. Now 6 is MJ Tafishi, USU. Ike Larson on the outside mail. Here comes Ike Larson, USU. Number 4 is Cole Bishop. Number 4. Now number 3 on the outside move. Here comes Jalen Royals, USU. And now it's down to Jonah Ellis. It's making a move on the right-hand side of Utah. Down coming the inside, making a move. And down the stretch they come. Sione Vaki coming back. And he scores again from Utah.
Nice. Well done. That was cool. Good stuff, man. That's really cool.
I love it, Todd. I appreciate everything you do at Advanced Windows, and that's a lot of fun. Thanks for recapping that. But now, tell us what we can do with Windows. And first of all, what is your role with Advanced Window Products?
Okay, so when I'm not doing the fast talk, my mom says they don't care that you're on a podium. You got to slow down in front of those customers. They don't know all that. So anyway, basically, my role is independent contractor. I'm basically a salesman, and I go out there and just educate people. I'm informative about the products and real passionate. So I'm more of an informed guy, not persuade. I like to sit and talk and rehearse things that help them and benefit them. And really it comes down to the glass itself that we use. And Cardinal Glass, I'm here to tell you that it's second to none. And so with that, we don't have a lot of phone calls down the road. So it helps customers with recourse and not being concerned of not looking through their window or condensation or failing. So glass is a big part of it. The frames that we use, the overall fact that we're the factory, that we make the windows in-house, that we actually remeasure our own windows, and then we have 10 installation crews. Who says that? So it's all turnkey. And then down the road, of course, we've got your back if something happens. People want recourse. We talked about that before. And you've got a product that just lasts. And really, it comes down to the battle is won or lost between those two panes of glass. So if you have the wrong glass, we really can end up doing this a third time.
Jake, financing options, $3,000 off when you swap out 10 windows or more. It's a no-brainer. You got to get this done.
We got whatever you're in need of, your situation financially, your home, if your home is in need of just glass or if it's full windows, it's call right now and get Jeremy's on the other line. He'll be happy to come out to your home in the next day or two, and he'll be able to just like teach you about the financing options, how you can upgrade the appearance of your home while also upgrading the comfort that you have right now.
Call right now. Jeremy's going to take your phone call. Make sure to tell him, hey, I get my $3,000 off. You can also go over all the financing options available for you as well. And you're going to get those windows installed in 8 to 10 weeks. I mean, I'm telling you, quick turnaround. Yep. Before you ever have to worry about kicking on that AC unit, you're going to have those new windows and you're going to be saving a ton of money. Guys, thanks for coming by.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Hey, it was special. Thanks for letting us be a part of this.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
We loved it.
And Nate, hope you enjoyed the play too. 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Hey, make sure to get to KSLSports.com. You'll have the complete recap, all 25 players, the highlight packages. Big thanks to the KSL Sports crew for taking care of us and making this thing a big production. More of this stuff coming down the pipeline. We're really fired up about some of the things we're doing for Top 60 and 60 coming up in the spring as well. It's all right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.